As you might have noticed from my last video, or you just know from your own personal experience, low self-esteem causes all kinds of problems. And it all starts with believing in this toxic idea that we are without sufficient value. But how does that idea even make its way into our thoughts? And how does it turn into such a strong belief? That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. Hey you guys, this is part 2 of my video series on identity and worth. In part 1, I shared my own personal story struggling with low self-esteem. If you haven't seen that one yet, make sure you go check that out too. And if you find this topic and other topics around mental health interesting, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Alright, in part 1, through my personal story, I covered some events that happen in a typical lifetime. Number 1, upsetting others. Number 2, your primary caretakers failing to be there for you when you need them. Number 3, seeing others perform better than you. Number 4, getting rejected. 5, getting treated poorly by others. And 6, performing poorly or failing. And though it wasn't part of my personal story, I'm also going to add number 7, which is not possessing something that's seen as favorable. That could be things like money, friends, a significant other, or even things like height or skin color. These events happen to everyone. Not one person is exempt from going through these events in life. Not even the top 1%. They're all just normal parts of life. But when these events happen, as normal as they are, they're unlikely to just happen in isolation without triggering any thoughts. If you're a highly sensitive person or someone who thinks a lot, these events certainly can come with a lot of thoughts. And one of the most common toxic thoughts we can have in these times is, I'm not enough. First of all, you can't even back up such an absolute statement. For you to do that, there need to be some universal standard of what it actually means to be enough. Well, that magical standard has never been, nor can ever be scientifically proven to exist. So this absolute statement is really just an oversimplified explanation for why events turn out the way they do and why things are the way they are. So how do so many of us come to believe it to be objectively true? Well, this idea slips into our thoughts from a very young age. Many people, including most mental health professionals, believe that it's got to be something learned in our childhood environment. But even if our childhood environment was pretty rosy, the mere observation of someone else's better performance can trigger that negative thought. So I actually don't think it's got so much to do with external influences in our environment. I believe it starts here, inside our mind. And when it happens, it'd be great if we could take a step back and think about it critically. But especially at such a young age, we simply lack the logical reasoning skills to do that. So we end up just getting convinced that it's true. And then everything afterwards is likely to get interpreted through that belief, just like what happened to me in my personal story. Then finally, it's through our continual repetition of agreeing with these toxic interpretations and beliefs that they become so automatic in the long run. If you want to know more about how this process works, make sure to watch my past video on behavioral patterns. So yeah, that's how we come to believe that we're not enough. And it is from this broken belief system that we get our low self-esteem. I think it's pretty clear from my personal story that having low self-esteem comes with all kinds of other problems. It doesn't just stop at making you feel like you're not enough. No, it goes beyond that. It strongly influences the choices in life you make, like where and how you invest your time and money and what opportunities and risks you shy away from. It can keep you super busy with what you think you need to do in order to keep your self-image afloat, rather than give you the freedom to do what you really want to do or what would be best for you. So low self-esteem can ultimately hinder you from reaching your greatest potential and living out your most fulfilling life. With all the problems that it creates, it doesn't make sense to hold on to low self-esteem. But this isn't an easy issue to resolve. You see, many of us are hooked on doing more. Sure, the productivity from doing more may help us feel better about ourselves temporarily, but it is this busyness that very much gets in the way of stillness, which is a state from which we learn best, that just as we are, even when we're not doing anything, we are enough. Thanks for watching, you guys. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. In the next video, I'll be going over the cons of the most common way people try to control their low self-esteem. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel. See you next time. Bye.